Okay, so get ready to go deep on this one because we are diving into the substance, this movie that's got everyone buzzing, right? You've heard about Khan, I'm sure.
Yeah.
12-minute standing ovation, Demi Moore in tears, the whole bit.
Yeah.
But is it really all that? Let's find out.
What's interesting is like that whole dramatic scene at Cannes
Right.
doesn't really line up with what people are saying about the movie itself. Like,
No.
it's not your typical horror movie, is it?
Not at all. Everything I'm seeing says it's going for something way more unsettling, you know?
Right.
Several reviews use the word psychological, um, visceral. One even said body horror.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but that's the stuff that really gets to me.
Yeah, but it's that weird mix of body horror and then, like, this dark comedy that's really got people talking. It's like you've got this super prestigious film festival known for being, well, you know.
A little snobby.
Yeah, exactly. And they go crazy for a movie that's anything but. It's just,
It makes you wonder if there's something more to it, you know? Like beyond just the shock value. Especially with those really divided reactions. Some calling it a masterpiece, others saying it was almost too much to handle. Why do you think that is? What's causing such extreme responses?
it's got to be that, like the intensity of it all, right? You've got the visuals, the sound design. One reviewer even said they made the chewing sounds like obnoxiously loud on purpose. This director is definitely trying to get a reaction.
Talk about an immersive experience.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more to it than just freaking people out, right?
Oh, for sure.
What about those deeper themes reviewers mentioned, especially with aging, particularly for women in Hollywood?
Oh, absolutely. That's where Demi Moore's performance is so interesting.
Right.
You mentioned how blown away some reviewers were by her in this role.
Yeah.
Like, they totally underestimated her before. It's like she's tapping into something really raw and real here.
Yeah.
Something people connect with.
And that ties into the whole substance thing, right? From what I've gathered, it's like this drug that promises to, like, literally rewind the clock.
Yeah.
Offers her character, Elizabeth Sparkle, a way to get back her youth and fame.
Exactly. Classic Faustian bargain, though, right? Always a catch.
Right.
And in this case, it's she.
Ooh, okay, so for those who haven't seen it yet, who is she?
So she shows up after Elizabeth takes the substance, but the reviews are super vague about what she actually is. Like, is she a separate person, part of Elizabeth's mind, I don't know, a twisted version of her younger self? It's really left up in the air, which just makes the movie even more eerie. What are you thinking so far?
Honestly, it's the idea of she as like a manifestation of Elizabeth's fears and desires that's sticking with me. It's like that classic horror trope, right?
Yeah.
The dark side of ambition taken to the extreme. We've seen it before, but there's a reason it works.
Yeah.
That fear of losing yourself, becoming someone you don't even recognize.
Makes you wonder what the movie's really trying to say. Is it like a warning about chasing youth and fame? Or is it more about the pressure, especially on women in Hollywood?
Especially as they age and the industry tries to push them aside. It makes me think, even with all the intense stuff, this movie might stick with you. You know, like you need time to process it to really get it.
And that's where the whole style versus substance debate comes in. Some critics are saying all the crazy graphic stuff might actually take away from the deeper message. Others say you need those elements to make it hit home, to really force you to look at what's happening to Elizabeth. What are your initial thoughts on that? Too much or just enough?
It's tough, right? Because I get both sides. Like, I like a movie that's willing to go there, you know?
Yeah.
Push boundaries, make you squirm a little.
Yeah.
But you can go too far, and then it's just shock value for the sake of it, not for the story.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm wondering is how all that graphic stuff, the body horror especially, connects to the bigger picture.
That's what a lot of the reviews are trying to figure out, too. They talk about these scenes that are really hard to watch.
Yeah.
Where Elizabeth's body is, like, almost unrecognizable. And that's where the psychological horror comes in. And it's not just seeing it, it's what it all means, you know? The loss of self, what happens when you try to cheat time.
So it's like the body horror is a visual metaphor for what's happening inside her head. Her internal struggle, but on the outside.
Exactly. Like her body is rejecting what she's doing to it, showing just how much this is costing her. And then it gets even weirder because on top of all that, some reviewers said there's actually dark humor sprinkled throughout.
Seriously. How do you even balance that? The gruesome with the funny, without it just being jarring. This director is walking a tightrope.
Oh, totally. And it's going to be a hit or miss depending on who's watching. But
Wow.
that's part of what makes the substance so interesting to break down. It doesn't fit neatly into any box. It's going to make you feel something, even if you don't like it. And it stays with you.
So even if you can't stomach the really intense stuff, there's still something undeniably compelling about this film.
Absolutely.
And it's sparking some really interesting conversations.
And that's what's so fascinating, right? It's not just what the movie's about, it's how it makes people feel. Some are blown away by it, the artistry. Others are like totally put off, even traumatized. And then there's everyone in between.
It's like that one review. They said they were actually sweating in the theater. They said the film destroyed them. Intense.
That's the substance for you, right? It gets under your skin. This isn't just something you watch, it's an experience. And not always a pleasant one.
Definitely not for the easily scared. But even with all that, it feels like the substance is doing what good horror should. It's making us look at our own fears.
Yeah.
The things that scare us.
Totally. And it does it in a way that's like thrilling and terrifying at the same time. Remember that review about the premiere? That tense feeling in the audience, like no one knew whether to laugh or hide their eyes? It was like the movie was tapping into something everyone feels, pushing them to their limit.
That's a good point. It's like that feeling when you see like a car crash about to happen. You know you should look away, but you can't. And weirdly, it's kind of exciting, like being that close to something so intense.
Yes. That feeling, and the reviewers who were really affected, good or bad, they all said the movie stayed with them.
Like, it gets in your head, right?
For sure.
The images, the sounds, they're just there in the back of your mind. You keep thinking about what it all means, about fame, about aging, about messing with time.
And maybe that's where the real brilliance comes in. It's not giving you answers, it's making you ask the questions. About beauty, about getting older, about Hollywood.
So, back to our listener's question. Is it worth watching, even with all the intense stuff?
That's the big question, right? And I don't know if there's a simple answer.
Right.
It's not for everyone. It's a lot to take in. It's not a movie you can just have on in the background. You got to be ready to think, to be challenged, maybe even grossed out.
But for those who are up for it,
it could be amazing, like something they won't forget.
All the reviews point to something, well, raw. Intense, something that makes you think.
That's like that cracked Walk of Fame star one review talked about. Like, it seems glamorous, but underneath, totally messed up.
Which is basically the movie in a nutshell, huh? All these illusions.
And Elizabeth, too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Trying to get back her youth and her career, but at what cost?
Mm-hmm.
The movie seems to be asking, can you really turn back time without, like, serious consequences?
And are those consequences just for her, or do they, like, spread to everyone around her? I mean, we barely hear about the other characters in the reviews. What happens to them when Elizabeth starts changing?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's like the more we talk about the substance, the more there is to uncover. It's horror, but it's also about ambition, about aging, the whole Hollywood thing, maybe even the ethics of science. It's a lot.
And it's using horror, a genre people don't always take seriously, to do it. Like, this is more than just a scary movie. It's art.
It's like the movie took the substance itself.
Yeah.
Right? It's become more than it was. People are talking about it, arguing about it, thinking about it.
And that says a lot, right? Love it or hate it, you're not going to forget the substance. It gets under your skin, makes you think, makes you feel. And in a world with so much forgettable stuff, isn't that kind of amazing?
Totally. So, to our listener, if you want a movie that's going to stay with you, make you think, maybe even keep you up at night, The Substance might be your kind of thing.
Just maybe don't watch it on a full stomach.
Good advice. Until next time, happy viewing.